Dame, dame, dame yo, dame. No, I don't. Welcome to the return of the Mancini the Amazing channel. It is I, Mancini the Amazing themselves, and we are here with the real questions that I think many people have been asking throughout history, especially since it was renamed Like a Dragon. Can Kazuma Kiryu beat Pokemon VGC? And it just so happened that the perfect situation to test this question came up. Here, in the VBL, one of our players, unfortunately, was in the middle of a pretty decent season, 2-2, well on track to be able to make playoffs, and had enough stuff come up that they weren't able to continue on with this season. So as a result, I came in to replace for the last 3 weeks of the season to see, at 4-3, if I went 2-1, maybe I wouldn't make playoffs, maybe I would. At 5-2, I could definitely make playoffs. At 3-4, theoretically, I think I could still make playoffs. It was a pretty wide open situation, and I had to ask myself, can Kiryu beat Pokemon VGC? I took VBL Like a Dragon. So, for a little bit of context, this is a VGC Regulation H format with Terra Preview. And one of the interesting things about the way that it's run is that this is what is called the Daddy Plan. So Season 1 is just a normal VGC Reg H, but any Pokemon that wasn't used in either division, any Pokemon that was used in either division for at least 2 games gets completely banned and is not legal next season. And then we'll have a low tier based on the Pokemon that weren't there. And when I came in and I saw that the state the Tojo Clan was in, I looked at the board, saw what Pokemon hadn't been taken, and I saw that there were a number of really strong dragons sitting there on the board. And I figured we had to reunite the Tojo Clan. So what we see here on the left, 6 are the Pokemon that stayed on the team when I took over. So we have, of course, the incredible Salamence. We've got the absolute one of the weirdest, and either this Pokemon feels like it's the greatest Pokemon of all time, or it feels like you just have no idea what's going on. But it did, of course, win VGC Worlds. Gardevoir. We've got Empoleon, who I don't believe has ever won VGC Worlds. We've got Electabuzz, who certainly has not won VGC Worlds. We've got Grafaiai, who also has not won VGC Worlds, but I've also never used Grafaiai outside of, I believe I did the Grafaiai episode in Pokemon A to Z. And we've got Weavile, who I use a lot, and I have in another draft right now. And was very happy to have. But remember, there's only 3 games, so I wanted to get the best chance to use it. I haven't used Electabuzz with Follow Me in... I'm not... I think I did it in a doubles or U-League. I'm not sure I've ever had it in VGC before, so I wanted to make sure I got a good chance to use Electabuzz and, give everyone their fair shake of the sauce bottle. But of course, when we're reuniting the Tojo Clan, we had to bring in 5 of the dragons so that we could show that we win like a dragon. So here I picked up Haxorus, Goodra, and Kingdra. All of these Pokemon were sitting at 11 points, and all of them were sitting there completely on the table undrafted. I dropped some Pokemon no one's ever heard of called a Nahilapi or something, I don't know. You guys seem kind of cringe. But imagine 3 really strong dragon types coming into a format where I believe I looked at it and really the only consistently good steel or fairy type on the board was Klefki, which is a bit of both, and then it's the next best one was Lucario, who is maybe not the most consistent dragon resist against, this set of Pokemon. And I'm like, you know what? It'd be interesting to continue like a dragon. Ask myself, can Kiryu win Pokemon VGC? So I also picked up Dragolgi, who was sitting conveniently, I think at 7 or something, but it was definitely the strongest dragon left on the board outside of these 3. And then for Bats, I picked up just a random 1-point dragon. I think I had 2 points. I think theoretically I could have gotten a different one. Went with Hakamoho. I've used a lot of the other baby dragons. I think one of my most used videos right now features Frigibax or Arctobax, the middle one, of the Baxcalibur line. I've used Fractured to good effect. I had a Gabite and barely used it, and it wasn't very good. I've got to continue just making sure. I checked out Sliggr. Sliggr was good. I've not used the Steel Sliggr. It honestly doesn't seem great, but you know, I want to make sure, check all of these middle tier NFEs and see if any of them are as good as Sheldon, which, let's be honest, we all know that they aren't. But I thought this was a chance to see, and one of the teams that we were running up, you'll see later, was maybe a situation where Hakumo had the opportunity to show up. So I wound up going with Hakumo. But realistically, I wanted to, I saw the Grafai on the team, I saw the Salamence on the team, I saw the Empoleon on the team, and to some extent Electabuzz as well. I'm like, okay, I think this would be a really fun way to put Kingdra and Goodra on the team. Both of them have abilities that synergize with Rain. Kingdra has Swift Swim, which doubles its speed in Rain, and Goodra has Hydration, which resets its, so removes any status condition at the end of turn while in Rain. So that means you can click Rest and heal back up to full, and then it gets cured by the ability Hydration while in Rain, which is very convenient. And to some extent, Dragolgi, I think, classically has been a reasonable dragon on Rain teams, because, for one thing, it's not weak to Fairy, and sometimes Rain teams can struggle to have a great Fairy check, but this was more in the context of singles, but also because it has random water-type moves like Hydro Pump, and I believe it used to have Scald, though I don't think it still does. I think it might have Muddy Water, but yeah. So, Rain team, and then Haxorus is just a crazy fun Pokemon. Unnerve and Mold Breaker are both really good abilities, and you can also get some use out of Rivalry. There was a game where I was considering bringing Rivalry because one of my opponents had a fixed gender Pokemon, but didn't wind up going with it. But yeah, here we are. These are the dragons, and we are going like a dragon. So, some people may... I'm not sure how many people here have played Yakuza. I will admit, I have not played a very large amount of Yakuza compared to the amount of Yakuza games there are. But I did, at one point, sit down and... so I played some Yakuza, and I did watch, like, a third of Yakuza 5 as one of my housemates was playing it. So, here we go. I picked what I think most people would think of are some memorable boss fights, or at least they're ones that stood out to me within the context of the Yakuza franchise to represent the three big games. So the first game we come up against, the undefeated player, it's Don. I know it's Dan, but the soul in me really wants to say Don. It's like he's Swedish or something, but he is in fact American. Though, of course, it's not American. Because all of the Yakuza villains that are in this are Japanese, and thus Dan must also be Japanese. But we came against an undefeated team who could not be stopped, and beating him as well as the other two players is the only way I could guarantee myself in. If I lose this battle here to Dan and his crazy team, it is a really strong team. He's got the Tyranitar Houndstone combo, he's got Talonflame, which means he's very capable of maintaining speed advantage against me. I've got a lot of Pokemon that are faster than a lot of his team, but they're not going to be faster than Houndstone and Sand, and there are a lot of other situations where it's like a bit awkward, and you know, Talonflame is being faster than Weavile is a bit annoying as well. Because it can always set that Tailwind up where you gotta like feint and use Scarf Electabuzz. It's like, this is really just not gonna work out in my favor if I try and go for that. And Skeledirge as well is a Pokemon that is an absolute nightmare in every context. But the Torch Song and the Unaware, I mean, my team has a few Pokemon that really like trying to boost up and get damage through to some extent with the Gardevoir, but to a great extent the Haxorus and the Weavile, both really big setup mons, and the Goodra as well, but it likes to set up for Body Press, which isn't great into Skeledirge as a Ghost type, even if it is not running Unaware. But really the Torch Song spooling up against me was something which is absolutely terrifying. And I don't really have a great Ghost check. It's really just Grafai, who is not amazing into Skeledirge. It's like, yes, I will use my Weavile as my Ghost Resist. So, I had to deal with the Sand mode, I had to deal with Smeagol, who can do literally whatever it wants. I had to deal, to some extent, with like superior shenanigans, though I think I've got probably an acceptable amount of Grass Resists on my team. Considering I do have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dragons that resist grass, and then also Grafai that resists grass, and both Salamence and Dragolgi do 4x resistant. But yeah, they also have Tatsugiri, which I do have 2 good dragon checks myself in the Gardevoir and Empoleon, but Tatsugiri is definitely a bit annoying here. And yeah, Berserker is the main steel resist, so likely expect a lot of Terra Steels or whatever for the rest of the team. Oh yeah, and they do also have this Oranguru here, which is pretty good at setting Trick Room. I generally have to use one of my 2 main knockoff Pokemon, which is convenient to have. Grafaiai and Weavile combined with a taunt to try and stop it setting up Trick Room. Which, isn't always the most fun, but is an option. And then, Medicham, Berserker, both fake out mons. Vikavolt is really only scary, I think, in Trick Room. I just have a lot of damage to push into it, and I do have Pokemon that have reasonably good special defense, so I'm not super worried about getting completely knocked out by it in the short game. So, let's go to see what they actually brought. Sorry, that annoyed exhale was at the fact that I had the wrong tab open. So we come here to Team Preview. We do see the Tatsugiri. Tatsugiri has, dragon moves as well as Icy Wind. Like, I come here, it's slower than most of the Pokemon that I brought. It's not slower than Dragalge, but it's slower than everything else. If I'm seeing it at Team Preview, I think if it's hitting the field, that probably means that it's Choice Scarf. Otherwise, I would have expected it to be like a Life Orb or a Draco Plate or potentially Sash with Tailwind, but they didn't really bring the Tailwind for that. So, it's a big question of... Sorry, it's a big Scarf is what it's looking for me. But here, I want to go with a Rain option, so I've got a Special Elements. I've got Rain Dance on Grafaiai with Prankster, as well as not with Prankster on Electabuzz, and then Kingdra to hopefully try and abuse Rain, or I can try and use Follow Me to set up damage coming out of Haxorus, or just attacking with Dragalge there. And Dragalge's got Room Service to hopefully counter them in Trick Room. So we come to Team Preview and I'm like, okay, I would like to see what their initial answer is. So I will note, I do see their Terra types at Preview, but I have to click play. So we do see the Tatsugiri. So it actually shows the Terra types here. So this shows their Terra Dark on Houndstone, Terra Fairy on Tyranitar, but their Dragon on Tatsugiri. That's really good news because it means I can hit with Dragon moves. The Guru is Terra Steel and the Vikavolt is Terra Fairy, so I'm really expecting Terra Blast out of Tyranitar and Vikavolt. And then they've got Terra Ground on Berserker, which makes me think maybe it has Terra Blast, maybe it's got a ground move, I'm not really sure. I don't feel like the Terra Ground is likely to be clicked. And they do see my Terras. I'm Terra Ground here on Electabuzz, which is just for a Rock Resist into Tyranitar. They see my Terra Poison on Haxorus. I think that tells them that I likely have Poison Jab instead of Iron Head, both of which are reasonable coverage options, but obviously Poison Jab hits Tatsugiri harder. Whereas Iron Head, would allow me to actually hit Berserker with something. And they're like, okay, do you have close combat? Are you running Dragon move? There's a lot of questions there, but I think that basically always tells them that I have Poison move, considering they know it's Terra Poison. Salamence is Terra Water. I don't think that gives a whole lot of information. I do have Hydro Pump, but I don't think that's something they're necessarily expecting, and Hydro Pump really isn't the main focus of it. It's really the access to Hurricane is the main reason that I like Rain on the Salamence. They see a Terra Fighting on Dragalge. I think that basically always tells them that I have Terra Blast, because Fighting is not like an amazing Terra type, except when you really need that access to Terra Blast. Fighting, but I don't think there's otherwise a lot of information they get out of it. They probably imagine that it's designed to check them in Trick Room in some way, and that is correct. Kingdra, it shows Terra Water. That means it's probably not Focus Energy. Focus Energy definitely could still be Terra Water, especially because their team isn't super likely to bring their big the big grass guy, but they do have the Vikavolt there, and I'd likely be more likely to run a defensive Terra, or even Terra Stellar, with a crit-based Kingdra with Sniper and Focus Energy. So here they would likely expect sort of Life Orb, maybe Choice, not fully sure on that end. But definitely a more offensive Kingdra variant, or like a more turn 1 offense. And then we have Grafaiai here. They see Terra Ghost. That basically tells them it's not Covert Cloak. That means somebody else probably is. And like I've really, at this point, I'm not sure what a lot of the rest of the items are. I'm definitely expecting the Oranguru to be Mental Herb. It is Terra Steel, so that suggests to me it's designed to use Terra Steel and Mental Herb to make it difficult for me to stop them having Trick Room, which otherwise I would have to either knock them out with damage, and because a lot of my damage is Dragon type, it would be difficult for me to do that if they Terra Steel, or to throw 2 taunts or a knockoff and a taunt into them to be able to prevent Trick Room, which is again a little bit less consistent. So Grafaiai, not Covert Cloak, and that doesn't really give them a whole lot, but it is good for them to know, especially they may consider like leading a Berserker in some situations to try and force me to Terra the Grafaiai, but it does give them that little bit of pressure. which is one of the downsides to Terra Preview with these Terra Ghosts, because normally you can pretend, you can fake that it's Ghost or not, but yeah. Here I see the Tyranitar and Tatsugiri lead. I think, okay, they see my Kingdra here. They know I'm going to click a Dragon move. They can't Terra Dragon the Tatsugiri. Tatsugiri is basically always Scarf. So, they're probably going to click Terra Blast with Tyranitar, and I don't know what they're going to do with Tatsugiri. This is an annoying situation. I actually have Choice Band on my Kingdra, and Kingdra I think currently doesn't learn Dragon Claw, so it's only Outrage. And Outrage, you can't pick who you target, so I'm like, okay, if they Terra Fairy, I need to win the 50-50 and hit into Tatsugiri, or I probably just lose at Team Preview. But I get a decent amount of information here. They may switch the Tyranitar into Berserker, it would be, but I don't think they're super likely to switch the Scarf Tatsu. They sort of want to see, oh, do you actually have Rain Dance? Are you actually Prankster? You know, there's a lot of information that they can get there, and they might even potentially be able to bait, say, a low kick into Tyranitar, or even a double into Tyranitar on this turn. That said, the reason the Tatsugiri is good, which I didn't say, is it does have the ability Storm Drain, which redirects my water type moves. So I can't click Wave Crash into the Tyranitar because it will be eaten by Tatsugiri. So I do go with the Outrage play. It is riskier, but that's the result of them having prepped well and put me into a position where I'm relying on this 50-50. And I do also Terra Water because I'm not threatening the Tyranitar, and I basically always expect it to go for Terra Fairy. So I go for Terra Water and they go for Terra Fairy, which is sort of what we predicted. You know, obviously we sort of hope they don't go for the Terra Fairy here. But yeah, we throw out the Outrage here. Oh yeah, sorry, something I briefly meant to say with the Grafai. When you don't see the Terra Normal, when you see the Terra Ghost, and you know it's not Covert Cloak, it might be Sash, which I think does suggest more so that I am Rain Dance, because we know that the Tyranitar is sitting sand there, and I may not want a Sash to be broken, but I could be like a bulkier version with Citrus. I could have Mental Herb myself. There's a range of other items I could have. But I think Sash is something that you do want to consider in that situation. But yeah, here I get the 50-50. I hit into the Tatsugiri here, and we do see that I called the Terra Blast coming out here correctly. Obviously, I didn't really get much advantage offensively out of going for Terra Water here. It was just that I would live a Terra Blast if it did come out here. I am still locked into Outrage, so they are able to remove my Kingdra next turn, but at the very least, I get a 50-50 chance that whatever's coming in here is either going to take a very significant amount from Outrage, be it Houndstone, Vikefall, or Anguru, or in the case of Berserker, it's still going to take a chunk, or it goes into Tyranitar, and then they either have to kill me, and if I do hit into Tyranitar, I can always switch or I can change moves. And if I don't go into Tyranitar, I'm obviously threatening the Pokemon that hit quite hard. One of the ways they can disrupt that is going into Berserker and using Fake Out to try and reset the positioning on my Kingdra. So we do see the Berserker come out here. So if they have the option potentially to Fake Out the Kingdra, they don't know what item it is. They should be able to guess that it, this turn they don't know that it's banded. So it could be Covert Cloak, because they know that this is likely not Covert Cloak because it's Terra Ghost. So theoretically, they could accidentally throw a Fake Out into Kingdra trying to like force reset it, and then take 50% on the Berserker for very little gain, in exchange for damage, either a Rock Slide here, potentially knocking both out, or a single target attack into Grafai to punish it, or even one into Kingdra, though I imagine Rock Slide would be pretty safe at getting the Kingdra at this range. So what do we see? I'm then predicting the Fake Out play, which they didn't wind up going for. I actually go for Encore, trying to lock the Berserker into Encore next turn, which does wind up failing because they actually go for an attack. I do get an Outrage here, goes 93% into Houndstone. That tells me this Houndstone has like no defensive investment at all. It's just that good. Houndstone's a good Pokemon. I'm pretty scared of it. So we go here. We do see an Iron Head come out and do a good bit of damage to my Grafai here. Okay, so they do have a few options here. I'm still locked into Outrage. There was a 50% chance that I either hit the Berserker and did damage, right? Or that I changed off my Outrage and got confused, and then I would be able to switch Kingdra. But I still can't decide what my Kingdra is doing next turn, right? The Outrage play does come with significant disadvantages. If you hit into the Fairy, it resets, but they switched out the Fairy, so I wouldn't be able to reset, and that meant there was a 50% chance that either I got confused and was able to switch, or I stayed stuck in Outrage. And here I am, still stuck in Outrage. And I wound up getting nothing out of my Grafai action that turn. I don't really know anything from Iron Head. That's a pretty normal move. It could potentially mean, like, it means they're not Iron Ball, which is the minus speed item, as part of like a Trick Room abuse thing, because then you would consider running Gyro Ball. But honestly, man, Iron Head is just so much more consistent because they do have that Dragulgi, which is likely going to be slow enough that Gyro Ball isn't going to be doing significant damage. So yeah, a lot of damage on Houndstone is good, but Kingdra doesn't learn Aqua Jet. I don't believe Grafai has any Prankster like moves that aren't priority attacking moves. I'm not 100% sure though. Salamence I think might have Aqua Jet. I know Dragonite does. I don't think it does though. I don't think Salamence has Aqua Jet. And Dragolgi I also believe does not have Aqua Jet. Electabuzz I think has Quick Attack, but nothing that would hit a Ghost type. So first impression Haxorus, if I brought it, it's kind of a weird matchup to bring it, but that's the only thing that's threatening Houndstone. This Houndstone may as well be at 100%, or maybe at 1% from its hash. Most likely, if they switch the Tyranitar in this turn, I have to Rain Dance to be able to get a move off before Houndstone. The Houndstone is most likely going to get the first move this coming turn, or it will switch or protect. Right? They've got a range of defensive options. I don't have great offensive options here. Grafai doesn't have great moves into Berserker. It does have low kick, but Berserker's quite light, so it doesn't have a lot of damage. And in this matchup, they don't necessarily know what my other move is, but generally you expect a poison move because it only really has double edge as its spread move. Actually, don't remember what item my Grafai is because I thought it was Citrus, but I'm guessing now it must have been Sash because it did not heal from Citrus. Always a great time to realize you've got no idea what you're doing. But yeah. Yes, so this new turn, the Houndstone has probably the most advantage in terms of positioning at this point. Oh yeah, sorry, also if the Houndstone is Sand Rush, which we definitely expect it is because it took so much from Outrage for a fluffy one, then it won't die to Sand. Obviously, if it did die to Sand, then being low health would be bad. But it most likely has the advantage, so my play has to come around thinking, what does this Houndstone do? The Berserker is not likely to do anything that's super significant to me, but they might switch into Tyranitar and then attack with Berserker, and I am still locked into Outrage, so I can't really do anything that supports that, right? I could theoretically low kick a Berserker because 2 Outrages plus a low kick will probably KO it, but we're really not sure what's going on. I do have the ability to Poison Jab into the Houndstone slot, predicting Tyranitar coming in, or the Houndstone staying in, and Tyranitar not coming in this slot, but you generally expect Houndstone to go for a move that kills Grafai here, I think. If the Tyranitar doesn't come in. Oh no, I am Citrus Berry. Okay, I thought I was Citrus. Just driving myself crazy. I do still have 2 Pokemon at the back, right? Obviously I've got a significant advantage because I am a Mon-Up, and they have lost a lot of health in their Houndstone. Even if that Houndstone, like the Houndstone is likely to still take advantage, it is deprived the ability to, take another Outrage, right? Because it's already taken one. So this turn, we see them switch into the Tyranitar. Theoretically, it's actually really good. Theoretically, really good for me to go into Outrage in Tyranitar because it means I'm not confused. I can click Outrage again next turn and not be confused. But yes, so I actually go for the play here. So I am Knockoff rather than Poison Jab, I think, or it might be Poison Jab as well. I don't even remember. No, I think I'm Knockoff Low Kick, yeah. This play is to punish the Houndstone going for an attack into Kingdra, because at this range, because they do have the Citrus, I don't think that the Houndstone is likely to be able to kill Grafai because it is immune to Last Respects. So Knockoff here would knock out the Houndstone or get away whatever Tyranitar has. At this point, I haven't really seen a lot. It could theoretically be Assault Vest. It hasn't taken much damage. Though Berserker is also a good Assault Vest candidate. I don't expect it to be a damage boosting item just based on what the Terra Blast did earlier. It just looks like they're adamant. So we see Citrus Berry. Okay, that's just they probably got some bulk to it. So most likely they'll be faster than Dragolgi, but even if I didn't have any investment on Haxorus or Kingdra, I probably will be faster than them. I do have some speed on Kingdra. I believe it is specifically speed for Tyranitar. But even if I didn't, it looks like I'm likely faster because they do have that Citrus. They are a tankier version and thus probably not max speed. So we do see the Outrage come out. So you do 44 to Berserker, pretty ordinary amount, nothing unusual. And we do see the Iron Head come here, claiming the Fire. So I'd say that's a reasonably good turn for them, but it still keeps up. Like I was ahead at the start of the turn, and I'm now less ahead at the start of the turn, but I'm not doing particularly badly. So here I bring out the Haxorus. Haxorus is faster than both of these Pokemon. It does have a poison move to be able to threaten Tyranitar. It doesn't, they don't know whether I've got, like I said, first impression, close combat, Swords Dance. There's a million moves that Haxorus can run. They don't know what Dragon move I am. I could be Dragon Claw, Scale Shot, or I could be even Outrage on this as well. because it is really only the Berserker that takes the dragon moves. So at this point, I've got to decide, okay, I do have Dragolgi in the back. I think if I had Salamence in the back, I probably would have brought it out over Haxorus. I probably would have even considered bringing it in the Grafai slot that turn, because the Intimidate can be valuable. I don't know if they have Clear Amulet. The Tyranitar, if I hadn't knocked it, could have been Clam. The Berserker could still be Clam. The Houndstone could still be Clam. But yeah, so we'll see what they want going for. I do go for the switch here because I want to save the Kingdra. I really don't know what they're planning on going for with these slots. I wouldn't be surprised to see a double at the Haxorus. I wouldn't be surprised to see a move into Kingdra. But what I wind up going for is, I think they do see the Protect there. I really did hope for that damage into Tyranitar. I strongly considered protecting the Haxorus this turn, but I didn't want like a random Dragon Dance or a double into the Dragolgi, which was originally the Kingdra, to go too wrong. I think saving the Kingdra in the back is good because outside of Houndstone and Sand, it is the fastest Pokemon. If I manage to stall out Sand for whatever reason, unlikely now with the Haxorus dying to it, but that means that it is just the fastest Pokemon, and it probably doesn't one-hit KO the Tyranitar, but it might take it from this range at 79, plus it will keep taking Sand Chip, which makes it more likely to be in range, and the Berserker and the Houndstone are both mons that can get in range as well. So at this point, I do have the ability just to double into the Tyranitar is what I decide to go for here, to hopefully try and finish it up, and then I'll see whichever one Berserker gets rid of, right? All three of my Pokemon, now we know this turn, only this turn do we know it, all three of my Pokemon are just faster than Berserker. So that's really good to know. I do have Room Service on Dragolgi, so I'll maybe faster than Berserker outside of it, but don't know for sure, but being faster than Berserker is really good information to have, especially because Berserker, I believe, is naturally faster. Sorry about that. Yeah, so, sorry, I got a phone call in the middle of trying to do the video, and it messed up what I think is the most important turn. So, Houndstone's faster than both my Pokemon, Berserker is slower. I am choice locked on Kingdra, so I can't protect, but I do protect on Dragolgi. I'm like, okay, I think they're not unlikely to put the last respects into the Dragolgi this turn. And I think the main way that I win is if I get that Protect call into the Dragolgi. Both my Pokemon are faster than Berserker. Both my Pokemon can KO Berserker, either with a Flip Turn or with a Draco. Same with Houndstone. Terra Water Flip Turn. It's just enough to put it over that Berserker benchmark. And then I can Sludge Bomb the Houndstone if I wanted to go with the move into that. And I'm like, okay, well, the main thing I need to do is, if I can get rid of Houndstone without losing a Pokemon, then I will win, because my Pokemon both trade Berserker. So if they attack into the Dragolgi, then and into the Dragolgi Protect, then I win. Theoretically, I could win, I thought there was some other way I could win, but no, I don't think there was. But yeah, I think this was the main thing I needed, was that, to catch the Houndstone attack into Protect, and then trade for that Houndstone. So I am able to get that Flip Turn out, kill that Houndstone. They go for Close Combat. This means even if it's Assault Vest, it will die. Theoretically, Assault Vest, depending on exactly how it was invested, could live. I don't think it has Protect. If they do have Protect, they actually do still lose, I think, because I don't think Sandstorm goes to that thing. But yeah, they're in range of Draco, and I do pop that Draco and get that KO, cleaning up that game. Incredibly close game. Dan has been on an absolute tear this season, and I am on the edge of my seat trying to figure out it. It really is exactly like the Funeral of Fists, man. What a crazy boss fight. This may or may not be Dan IRL. Sorry. Yes, here I am in the coming to the second game. I'm like, okay, I did win. But it was really close, and I do think I have a pretty strong matchup, so it probably shouldn't have been that close, which means I think I need to switch it up a little. So I wound up going with the more aggressive E-Buzz oriented leaf. I do think Kingdra was really good. I do think Dragolgi was really good, so I'm pretty keen to keep them on the team. So we see instead, they still go with the Tatsukiri lead, but I'm here with, ideally, the concept of this is that I can follow me with Electabuzz and then Swords Dance with Haxorus, and I am Scale Shot, so I'm able to get +1 speed if they do Scale Shot. But yes, the Berserker actually does wall me, because I am Sword Stance instead of Close Combat. When I say wall, if I Sword Stance twice, I'll just kill it with Scale Shot. And I think even after a Sword Stance once, then like I don't need much chip to. But yeah, I see Haxorus come out. They know that I'm not Cloak here. Maybe I'm Cloak here. Probably Eviolite, but maybe. And this Scarf Tatsugiri is faster than both my Pokemon. They could fake out the Electabuzz and stop me from follow meing. So I just go for a safe Protect play, and what I do is I'm like, okay, well, I don't really need chip on Tatsugiri, right? We know that Tatsugiri is going to always die to Scale Shot from Haxorus. It's always going to die to Draco from Shigolgi. It's always going to die to, a Draco from Salamence if I brought it. It's always going to die to an Outrage from Kingdra if I bring it, right? I don't really need chip on it. What I do want is a little bit of damage on Berserker, because if I can, hit a Berserker with like a +2, get it in range of +2 Scale Shot, that'd be really good for me, right? A Thunder Punch or a Low Kick both sort of do similar damage. I want going for Low Kick on the very low odds that they actually bring Tyranitar in from the back. But yeah, so we do see Scarf Tatsugiri here. It goes before the Electabuzz. Now I do make a decision, which doesn't wind up feeling like it doesn't wind up being a terrible decision, but it doesn't feel very nice in the moment. So I go for the Follow Me again, so the Berserker can't threaten it, and I go for the Scale Shot into Tatsugiri. They can't switch anything in the back that wants to take Scale Shot. Unfortunately, man, this Icy Wind does 45 to my Haxorus, which just feels insane. But yeah, I do go for the Scale Shot. I get both hits. The speed goes up. Obviously 10% of the time that could have been really bad. They go for an Iron Head here, which they were trying to throw into the Haxorus, and I do get Static. Now, Static is an ability that 30% of the time should activate on contact moves. It does activate here. We'll see if it has that same consistency later in the game. Now the Tyranitar comes out. I'm like, okay, this Tyranitar's going to Terra Poison, what do I do? Do I Sword Stance? No, I'm going to die to Rock Slide because I've got that defense drop, and I've taken so much damage already. And if I go for another Scale Shot, certainly I'm going to take another defense drop. I'm like, okay, I need to figure out what my opponent is doing with this Tyranitar. Fortunately, I'm not the only person thinking that exact line. The unfortunate thing is I am half speed here from the 2 Icy Winds, which means that the Tyranitar is basically always faster than Electabuzz. Certainly from what I've seen, I expect it to be faster than Electabuzz. So I go here for the Protect, just to scout what the Tyranitar does, and I set Rain, because I've got Rain Dance on the Electabuzz as well. Now I'm not going to be taking Sand Chip, and if I bring the Kingdra in, they're going to have to like make shenanigans and play and actually like, contribute to the overall flow of the game for anything they do to be meaningful. Now I basically always expect a Rock Slide to come out from Tyranitar this turn, and I'm like, okay, it's probably going to Terra Poison, so that does not happen. But I've gone for a Poison Jab into the Tyranitar and a Follow Me. So I go for the Follow Me and the Poison Jab. The Poison Jab goes off, no poison, unlucky me. And yeah, they don't get full parried on this turn, but they get the CC into the Electabuzz and they do remove it. So I've got some chip on it on Houndstone. That means now it's most likely in range of Outrage. Or it is, right? We saw Outrage do 97% last time. Now it's just going to be in range, so that's always good to know. And we do see the -1/-1 on the Berserker, which means it's more likely to be in range of Scale Shot than previously. So this turn comes in, and I'm like, okay, well, feel free to bring Tyranitar in. It sounds like a great way for it to die. They've only lost one Pokemon, so Houndstone is only going to be able to threaten Haxorus. And then at this point, Kingdra can Wave Crash into either of these slots and claim a KO, basically. Because Wave Crash is even stronger than Outrage because it's in rain, so it's 1.5x boosted. Plus I have the ability to Terra the Kingdra to make it do even more extra damage. But yeah, so it's got the rain boost, it's got the stab boost. I have great autonomy. They don't have Storm Drain anymore, so I just have to decide what I'm doing with Haxorus. I'm like, okay, I've got Shigolgi in the back. I could switch into it, but then I'm going to take a bunch of damage on Shigolgi. I'd rather not. I'd like it to stay out of range of Tyranitar, and ideally out of range of maybe even 2 Berserker hits. I don't know if it is. But yeah, man, the Berserker is super low at this rate. I'm like, okay, if I go for the attack into Houndstone, they bring in Tyranitar and then they like trade, or don't even trade, they do like some chip on Kingdra and then they lose the Houndstone. And then if I Scale Shot into the Berserker, if they switch the Houndstone and protect the Houndstone, if I get 5 hits, Berserker dies because it's at -2 defense now, same as me having been Sword Stance. And if I get 4 hits, it doesn't, because I've got the loaded dice on Scale Shot. So I go here for the Terra Water, I get the KO on the Houndstone. Again, I believe I would have survived a Last Respects, it doesn't look like they were item boosted. And yeah, my assumption at this point is that they're clear amulet on the Houndstone. I get the crit here, but the crit isn't enough to not need that extra attack, but they do get full parried. I do still have another Pokemon in the back, but yeah, I'm like, okay, surely Tyranitar will die this turn, right? And we'll see. Man, Tyranitar, good Pokemon it seems. So here I go for the Scale Shot into Berserker again. I Poison Jab, which doesn't need it. I just want to make sure that it's just their one Pokemon left. I go for the Wave Crash into Tyranitar, Terra Water boosted Wave Crash with a Choice Band, and it still lives, and then it removes both of my Pokemon. So it comes to the 1v1 of Trigulgi against Tyranitar. So they go for the Protect to get the extra turn of Sand damage into me. I think that does make sense. They're always dying to me, and I'm not always dying to them. This might mean that, like, I don't necessarily know exactly what my spread is. This might mean that, say, a high horsepower, which I believe, did we see high horsepower last game? Yeah, we did see a high horsepower last game, and it came into me, right? Yeah, we saw a high horsepower do 78. I thought, like, okay, maybe, you know, it's a crazy roll or something like that, or maybe this will help me get the crit. They could theoretically go for a Rock Slide flinch into a high horsepower crit. Into a high horsepower hit, which I think high horsepower is already like a high crit rate move, but you know, there's definitely options there, but they do need sort of luck to go in their favor. So they go for the high horsepower to 73, which is a little less than last time, and unfortunately does not get the KO. So I do manage week 5 to get through the undefeated Dan. Really, real funeral fist moment, like I said. So the ultimate team that I came with, they're very physically defensive. Damn it. Electabuzz is very bad physical defense, so I had to invest very heavily into its physical defense, and if I do bring Electabuzz again, then we'll see it. But yes, Electabuzz came to its second game this season with this, so it's not going to be legal for anyone next season, which is good news because, man, this would also be kind of crazy as a support mon. Like, we just saw it, you know, staving off Tyranitar and, like, threatening Kingdra. I don't think we need it to... not threatening Kingdra, threatening Houndstone. I don't think we need it, like, coming up against, you know, Hitmonchan. It's very interesting, the power levels in the following season. But yeah, Salamence don't wind up coming. I just didn't think I'd be able to keep up Rain, and I did not need Tailwind at all. This mon was really here for Talonflame-oriented compositions, which they just didn't bring. But yeah, and it was the Cloak mon. Bandit Kingdra, very good. Very consistent damage, and that speed, very fast as well. Grafai, low kick and knockoff is definitely okay, but not amazing. But Rain Dance, I think bringing the two Rain Dances were really what kept me in this game, right? Very, very good to enable the Kingdra, who had a good matchup here. They brought very hard prep for it. I think if they were Terra Fairy on Tatsugiri, like, I would have just had to switch turn 1 with my Kingdra. There really is nothing that I could do. No, that's not true. I had Iron Head. I probably would have Iron Headed it turn 1, which wouldn't have been a fun lock, but probably would have locked into it. But yeah, I mean, it's Sash Tatsugiri. Nah, it really needed to be Scarf. But you know, there were different complications. But yeah, the fact that it was Terra Dragon, the fact that it wasn't a Terra that resisted. That was a resisted or was immune to Dragon meant that it was an imperfect check to Kingdra. That said, I'm sure that the damage numbers from the Scarf would have been very good. So we'll end up seeing Tyranitar was Citrus Berry, which we learned from the knockoff. Wound up being Sash on the Houndstone, which I don't know how I was going to put it to Sash. I literally hit it with a Bandit Outrage. It didn't go to Sash, but I think it was for sorry, if we look back at the matchup, Weaver. And it's actually mono, well, it's got Snarl as well, but I expected Play Rough, and it didn't wind up having Play Rough. Just Ghost Moves, which was obviously very good news for Grafai, because I did have Knockoff, which meant I could threaten the Houndstone, and it only had Snarl to threaten me, which isn't going to be doing a whole lot of damage. So definitely a good Grafai position. The Scarf Tatsugiri here, definitely, like, if I did have like a Salamence lead and say it wasn't an extra Electabuzz, which I wouldn't expect it to be, it could like wham me right in the face with a Draco, and that would have been a very challenging position for me. We do see the Oranguru come out here. I think game 1, I led damage, and I believe the Rain Dance Outrage, like I think they would have needed to lead the Fake Out plus Trick Room to be able to get it. Otherwise, I think I could kill the Oranguru, though I'm not 100% sure, man. I didn't expect it to be so physically defensive. I briefly looked at these, but I hadn't seen the investments. I would have expected especially defensive, definitely. But yeah, crazy strong mod. I did have Taunt on Electabuzz, did I actually still have Taunt on Electabuzz? No, I wound up dropping it. I had Encore, so I could knock it off and then Encore it into Trick Room, which really just forces it to switch. Because you just don't stay in that situation. But yeah, they had Encore. Oh no. Yeah, I think there's a lot of like interesting Pokemon here, and it did wind up being Assault Vest, but it wasn't Super Sped F invested on that Berserker. But man, it took that Outrage really well, which isn't shocking, but man, it did take that Outrage really well. It shows that Kingdra really is one of those Generation 2 Pokemon that hasn't necessarily caught up to the modern age, but I'm glad that it did get this fun game. Now, we do get an even harder situation as we get all the way into Proof of Love. I do remember this fight scene quite vividly from the end of... I couldn't find a great background remove picture, but look, I think it works. Yeah, man, Yakuza 5 has a really good ending. I think it's definitely worth playing. And also what we see here is Weavile's actually playable into this team. Maybe. We'll see. But no Talonflame on this side. So Sukava here has Mono Dark, which I thought the honestly I think the drip fits, you know. The Yakuza guys with the long sleeves so that they cover up the tats. It is definitely a vibe. But yes, we don't see the most favorable of matchups because we see King Gambit and Grimmsnarl, both pretty good dragon checks to my team that has, oh yes, 6 dragons. I do have Hakamoa. I looked at Hakamoa in prep for this matchup and I'm like, this doesn't even have Aura Sphere. Wow, what a bad Pokemon. And I did not bring Hakamoa, unfortunately. I was sort of hoping to, but they have a lot of Pokemon. What they don't have a lot of is special attackers. They've got Greninja, they've got Meowscarada, they've got Houndoom. Like, we're really counting Houndoom? But Spiritomb is like, I mean, it's got the same physical and special attack, but it's not really great at either. And then they've got Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl has 95 special attack, which I think is actually maybe more than Spiritomb. I think Spiritomb is 108. I'm not 100% sure, but I know that 108 is like the Spiritomb number. So that's great news for running like physically defensive Pokemon. So Acid Armor, Goodra, potentially he doesn't even learn Iron Defense. No, Body Press. He doesn't even learn Body Press, Hakamoa, which I did think he did, but doesn't, unfortunately. Very sad. But yeah, generally, like, Intimidate is also okay, but not amazing, because they do have Defiant. They do have their own Intimidate, which is a bit weird as well. And I think you really expect a lot of Terra Fairies in this matchup, because fighting moves are naturally inclined to be brought here. I do have 2 fast Brick Break Pokemon in Weavile and Electabuzz to be able to support the rest of my main attackers. So that was sort of the core of that I sort of shaped around, was like, okay, I would like to be able to remove their thing. I know I had... I also had to bring Goodra, because Goodra has to come to at least 2 games, so that means it had to come to both of these last 2 games. And Kingdra had to come to one of these 2 games. And Haxorus also had to come to one of these 2 games. So I was like, okay, well I have to bring Goodra, so Goodra's on the team, and I'm like, okay, what am I shaping around it? And as we come to team preview, like, it's really difficult with a monotype team to predict. Like, they could run like an offensive or even like a Life Orb, Intimidate, Crocodile. I don't think Scarf is unlikely, with like Moxie to get more damage, because I am not super great into ground. Like, if they just dedicate their other Pokemon to dealing with Salamence, my ground matchup is not very good, outside of like defense boosting with Goodra. And my sustain is really only like Gardevoir and Goodra have Life Dew. I don't think any of my Pokemon even have Heal Pulse. I don't have screens from, well, it would just be Reflect, but I don't have the ability to reduce incoming physical damage from Grafaiai. So it's like, okay, I can let them hit Electabuzz in the face. I think you might also get Brick Break, though I don't remember. Grafaiai is a cool Pokemon. I hadn't used it before. I've used Shroodle, so which is kind of cheating, but yeah. So if we head now, I'm gonna close up these. Actually, I lied. I'm going to keep... Oh, okay, I accidentally had the Windows button instead of the... I'm going to keep my build over so we can look at my build as after the compare thread. So we come here. Here's the proof of love. Because, you know... what's it? Hatred cannot hatred cannot defeat hatred. Only love can do that. And, you know, evil Pokemon. So this is pretty good news, not seeing Meowscarada. Meowscarada is an Ice type and a Fairy type. It's got Triple Axle and Play Rough, which is a lot of damage. You know, Cross Move isn't great, and it does have to worry about Weavile just being faster. But they do have Murkrow to sort of equalize that. Murkrow is an awkward Pokemon here because it doesn't do a whole lot of damage to most of my Pokemon, and a lot of my Pokemon do damage to it. Oh, I didn't talk about Gardevoir. Yeah, their team is Mono Dark. Gardevoir is pretty annoying for them to deal with. So I just realized this. So game one, I don't even remember what I do. I think I lead Weavile. Do I lead Weavile or do I lead E-Buzz? Oh no, I go for the E-Buzz Haxorus. If I get a Sword Stance up, so we do see here a team preview, they have Terra Steel, Terra Steel, Terra Steel, so that's Grimmsnarl, Krookodile, and Murkrow are all Terra Steel, and then Alolan Muck, Kingambit, and Greninja are all Terra Fairy, which isn't very polite. Tells me basically everything's probably going to have Terra Blast. I'm not even a Mono Dragon team. I only have 6 dragons in my 11 Pokemon team. You know, I'm not like they have 11 Dark types. Their teams are really good at Debug, by the way. Dark is normally weak to Fairy, Fighting, and Bug. They've got a Ghost to deal with Fighting. They've got a Flying to deal with Fighting. They've got a Fairy to deal with Fighting. Bug-wise, they've got Dark, they've got Fairy, they've got Ghost, they've got Flying, and they've got Poison, and they've got Fire. And then in terms of Fairy, it's just the Kingambit and Grimmsnarl and Muck. No, sorry, Kingambit and Muck. And technically Houndoom, but I honestly think Houndoom loses to most Fairies. Mostly just due to it honestly not looking like a fully evolved Pokemon these days. But yeah. So this lead comes out. Fairy type, Fairy type. I'm like, I am Sword Stance, Scale Shock, Close Combat, and First Impression on Haxorus. I really don't do that much here. But I'm here to follow me in Sword Stance, so I'm gonna Sword Stance. They didn't Terra Fairy turn 1. That's great. It would have been honestly good if I clicked Scale Shot into it. But yeah, they go for the knockoff here. I do not activate static. So for anyone who thinks after last game where I activated a single static, which isn't particularly impressive, but I don't get a static off here, and they don't get Poison Touch. So you know, maybe the abilities were just broken. Also, I have a Nerve to stop them having like anti-fighting berries, specifically Trouble. Unfortunately, this turn they do go for the Terra Fairy, so I have to follow me again and Sword Stance. No static there, and that doesn't have the ability to static because it's Terra Blast. So now I'm Terra Steel, and I'm like, okay, Weavile hopefully will do something here. I'm like, this is a very difficult situation. I wish I had Iron Head. I did have Iron Head instead of First Impression for a little while, but they are Mono Bug. Sorry, they are Mono Dark. I almost had Low Kicks on a version of this team that wasn't Dragon, and Low Kicks would have been very good into this team. But yes, no Steel move is a very difficult position to be in, because it means I can only like close combat the Muck. And we see they throw a T-Wave out here. Obviously, making Muck faster, I think Muck doesn't need speed investment to be faster, or it might have needed a little. But if Muck did get faster because of the T-Wave there, that would have been very good for them. But yeah, I go for the Brick Break to remove the screen, and the CC follow-up to just get rid of the Grimmsnarl. They do go for Drain Punch, so I'm glad I didn't waste damage into it, but it's a very difficult situation. I switch out, because I'm definitely thinking this is Scarf, the way they brought it in. I think if it wasn't Scarf, they would have brought whatever other Pokemon they had in, because it will just die to Haxorus, right? So I bring in Gardevoir because Gardevoir can always take a Scarf high horsepower. Obviously knockoff would be annoying, but they're knockoff would definitely be reasonable. Knockoff would be annoying because they would be able to follow with another knockoff, but I always love a high horsepower and do have the ability to do something with Weavile. Now, unfortunately, I don't actually have the ability to do something with Weavile. Now, I go for the triple axle here with Weavile because it, is unlikely to hit into the Weavile. It doesn't get a KO, I think, unless it clicks close combat. I'm not Sash, but they may think that I am. Obviously not now, but before then. And Weavile does get the KO, but it does go down. So Haxorus comes in, and they've got Gambit. I'm like, okay, I shouldn't give them information, so I'm just going to click SD here. I don't know if they've got like some Choppel, or actually no, Choppel wouldn't work, so I don't know. I could have theoretically close combated the Gambit, but so far this King Gambit has not actually gotten a turn off effectively. I'm like, okay, I really need to switch up my game plan, because this muck is really problematic for the Swords Dance game plan, because I did go with the first impression version. So to switch out that game plan, I don't actually have a steel move on Empoleon. I'm like Vacuum Wave, Roost, Water Pulse, and Helping Hand, I believe. I'm Helping Hand with Haxorus first impression, with the idea being I can first impression with that. Sorry about that. Sorry, I didn't even say what I was doing, but I'm switching up to go with Goodra Acid Armor setup instead, because I can consider just throwing T-Waves around or whatever here, but I feel like with the defense boosts, it's very difficult for them to get through it, because they really only have Greninja that's special that they brought here, because we've seen now that Grimmsnarl's physical. And like the Terra Water, it's very difficult for them to punish, because they didn't bring, they don't have an electric type. There's no more Pico on this team. And I got Sap Zipper, so I'm immune to Grass, but they don't even have that, right? All they can do is hit me with neutral moves or like random Thunder Punch, which I don't think is super likely because I have 6 dragons. So I actually went for T-Wave. They went for the Terra Light Screen. I don't even have a special attacker on the field right now, I won't lie. I went for the T-Wave into the King Gambit to try and mitigate its ability to do damage to Goodra, but actually they just switched into Crocodile, which is fine. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I'll just follow me and get another Acid Armor up. They double into the thing. Both of those are places where static procs could have gone off. But now at +4 defense, I think it is basically requires them to have Greninja and get lucky with a Dark Pulse Flinch to be able to break through this Goodra at this point, if I Terra Water. Now, I don't actually Terra Water, but I realized I should have. I'm just like, okay, I want to get rid of Crocodile because it's faster than Weavile. But yeah, they go here. They actually throw a Spirit Break into Weavile. I don't even know if that kills, but certainly something that we have the ability to see. The Weavile's actually Clear Amulet for the Crocodile Intimidate that wasn't even actually Intimidate. But yeah, so here I go for the Terra Ice, and I'm just like, okay, the most important thing to me here is being able to get rid of this muck. So I'm going to try and do the best I can. I'll live a Drain Punch if they go for it with the Terra Ice, and I'm able to Body Press there for damage. And now I've put them in range of the Terra Ice Shard as well, so I can get rid of this muck. I'm pretty sure it's Assault Vest at this point, without them being able to reflect. So either they would have to switch into Crook, which I'd be happy with, taking an Ice Shard into, or they'll lose muck. So I do get the Ice Shard off, and I consider going for Life Dew here, and then I'm like, well, all that will do is make me live a Spirit Break. You know, I won't live the Crook anyways, so I don't need to. And they haven't done any damage to Goodra. Yeah, I just throw the Ice Shard out here so that I can get them more consistent out, right? I don't think I've even terrored at this point. No, I did terror the Weaver. It was a good thing I didn't wind up terror watering the Goodra, because it meant I did have that better matchup position there with Weaver. So we do see the Earthquake here, which is actually doing a pretty good amount of damage, and Gardevoir is a filthy kill stealer, which isn't very nice. But Spec's Gardevoir is obviously reasonably difficult for them to clean up against in the late game. So they do the Earthquake. It does 96. It's pretty good damage at +1, right? I think they can go to Moxie Boost, right? Yeah. And that means I know I'm out of range of high horsepower single target, which is also good news. Even though I did already know that, and unfortunately just got crit the previous game. So now we're going to game 3. I'm like, okay, well, Goodra is basically how I win. How can I best annoy them in a way that allows Goodra to set up? And how can I answer Greninja, which is their main Goodra check, or it could theoretically be a Taunt Murkrow. So we come here, we do see the Grin lead, and I'm like, okay, if I lead Goodra and Gardevoir, they really just don't have any ability to do anything to check both of them. So either I get a Dazzling Gleam off and like theoretically kill both Pokemon, or I get an Acid Armor off and then just win immediately. So I go here for the Terra Water. I think like an Ice Beam coming out here could have lost me the game. But yeah, I go here and they're like, okay, they double into Gardevoir. That's great. I just basically have won the game from here, especially because they've committed that Terra Steel on Crook. I don't even know fully why. I did have Aura Sphere. I think I actually locked Aura Sphere into Gren, or no, into Crocodile on that turn, just in case. But yeah, like, they're just at a pretty significant mon and positional disadvantage against me at this point, right? Yeah, I think I get full parried this turn. No, okay, sorry. I think I get full parried the following turn, yeah. So the Sucker whiffs again. This Kingambit has not had a turn so far this set, outside of that Protect. Yeah, they go for the Protect, and here I go for another Acid Armor, but unfortunately get full parried. And then I go for the switch here to hopefully try and preserve Weavile. I actually think they get it, like, Iron Head potentially into it, but they wind up going for that. And yeah, now with Haxorus in, I'm in a position where I can actually first impression the Greninja after it comes in, which, you know, pretty good damage. Now this Dark Pulse is very annoying damage for me. I do unfortunately take a full para here. If I was able to hit the, to body press the Gren, and I did double the Gren this turn, if I was able to do that, then I wouldn't necessarily have taken, lost another Pokemon, because I would be able to throw damage into Gren. Maybe I would have still have lost a Pokemon though. Goodra actually did not wind up with a whole lot of kills, because Gardevoir kill-stole last game, and Weavile kill-stole this game, but this Kingambit clicked Sucker Punch 3 times, and was successful none of the times. It was a crazy set. So I wound up being, yeah, I was Clear Amulet. No, I was Cloak on the Weavile. I don't remember why I was Cloak on the Weavile, I won't lie. I would Cloak on the Weavile. I went Terra Ice because of that extra damage and the fact that I would maybe resist like a Fairy move coming out or a fighting move in the situation that actually happened. If I had Iron Head here, I think I won that first game really easily, but I didn't have Iron Head, so I didn't. But yeah, the Scale Shot Close Combat was like the core idea, but that struggles a bit into Terra Fairy, which they brought a lot of. Then I did have this Empoleon. If this had a Flash Cannon, I honestly would have brought it, and it would have done a lot of stuff, but it didn't have Flash Cannon, so it didn't do it. It wouldn't have done a lot. Vacuum Whip was cool and all, but it did not wind up being super relevant. Yeah, and then they've got, yeah, the Specs Gardevoir was definitely good. They had to double it turn 1 or they lost, and like it cleaned up this game, right? Just very good Pokemon in the matchup. And then yeah, I was Acid Spray, which did not wind up coming in at all, but the idea was if they did bring Spiritomb, unless it's Covert Cloak or Clear Amulet, I can spam Acid Spray into it, and then even if it's Calm Minding, I'll beat it 1v1, just because it will be taking more and more damage. I don't even know if that's actually true, because Acid Spray is not a high base power move, but that was the idea. And then I've got Life True to be able to sort of recover out past it. But yeah, Acid Spray was also like, if they had like a Terra Ghost Muck, it could maybe help. But yeah, the idea was, if they're Ghost types, Acid Spray will give me inevitability against it in ways that like Dragon Pulse maybe wouldn't have. But I think Dragon Pulse probably would have. Acid Spray was maybe not the best pick. I could pair it with like the Gardevoir or the Empoleon for extra damage, but I don't think that was likely to be super relevant in most circumstances. Mostly because I didn't have the Steel move on Empoleon. Water Pledge was good though. And yeah, I did not wind up using Helping Hand at all, but I did have, I did run both of these Pokemon because I wanted to have Helping Hand next to First Impression, was the exact idea. I think also, oh no, that's right, Helping Hand, Terra Ice, Ice Shard, with the Covert Cloak, so I couldn't be faked out, meant that I could always Ice Shard the Murkrow, and unless it's like very physically defensive, it would die to Ice Shard. So they could lead, even if they led Shift Dream Murkrow and they went for the fake out to try and get the Wind Rider Tailwind up, they would have to either Terra or have already been like very physically defensive to be able to live all of that boosted damage. But yeah, definitely really good games against Sugaba. I think once I realized, oh, they don't really have a great matchup into Goodra, it got a little bit easier, but even then, like this wasn't like a super blowout game. This game, theoretically, I could have just gotten full parried for the rest of Eternity, which wouldn't have been great. And then even back, and then in the first game, like they probably still won, even if they didn't crit. But I do think them critting meant that I didn't have any outs whatsoever, and I think I did have the ability to have outs if I didn't lose Gardevoir that turn. Maybe felt like I should have been Trick, but Terra Stellar was just like, it covers annoying things, because I don't really know what my opponent is planning on doing. If there's weird stuff, then Terra Stellar means I don't lose to it, especially because they could have like Terra Poisoned stuff, and then or Terra Steeled but Sealer Sphere hit the Terra Steel stuff. But like random Terra Poisons, I didn't want to run a Psychic move, so I figured Terra Blast Stellar was better. And it means I could also like get an extra damage on the Dazzling Gleam if there was a turn where that mattered. And yeah, they wound up coming in. The Murkrow was Max Fist F, so it would have lived an Ice Shard with their Helping Hand because, yeah, I don't know, people just don't want me to succeed, I think. For some reason, my opponents don't want me to beat them. Not very polite of them. Yeah, and like I said, we see a Terra Blast. We did not actually wind up seeing a Terra Blast on the Gren. I'm actually a bit surprised. That was Specs damage? Is Gren bad? I did not think that was Specs damage. Okay, wow. Wow. Well, I thought they said it was Sash Gren. Did I get the wrong paste? Sorry, I'm just going to double check, because I thought Tsukaba said that the Gren was Focus Sash. I think it was in... We did a bunch of chat after this. I think they mentioned that the Greninja was Sash, but this one is Specs. I think that the Sash is correct. I don't think this was Specs damage. Not that I think it got the opportunity to switch up moves. Does it get switched after Ice Beam? But yeah, I kind of expected to have like a poison move or something. I wasn't really sure what it was going to run. Hydro was definitely not a move that I expected against Empoleon and 5 million dragons though. Yeah, Scarfcrook was definitely wound up being a power player on their team. And we did see running a bunch of Terrors just because it annoys like half your opponent's team reasonably well. It worked really well against my Haxorus. And you know, I learned going into the final week to run good moves. But not even necessarily to bring Haxorus, you know. Probably will though. But yeah, so we're here. We've got that proof of love, and now we come to the end of battle. Yes, I know this was in the first Yakuza game. I tried to get the original Yakuza for it as well. I could have gotten the Kiwami, but I went with the original Yakuza fit for it because I felt like it worked better. So I'm here against Rock. Yes, I did check that that's how that name was pronounced. I wasn't sure. Yeah. The incredible heights we've gotten to. So this last game can decide. So I got the 2-0, but I got and then a 2-1. If I lose this game 0-2, it's pretty difficult for me to make playoffs. And if I lose this game 1 and 2, I have good odds, but not guaranteed. So really, what I would like to get out of this game is a win. And you know, it really is the end of battle, right? It's my final struggle. There's nothing left. Again, even if this is the first Yakuza. For people who don't know, I've titled them after the chapters of Yakuza of the Yakuza games where they actually have the boss fights. But yeah, it's just called the end of battle, Matt. I couldn't make the end of battle, not the end of battle. I also looked at I considered like good old Yakuza 0. In fact, then I'm like, well, the chapter name is lame, so I'm not going to do it. Oh, and then I think if I did the Kiwami version, like the remake version of this fight, it was just called Finale, which I didn't think sounded anywhere near as cool as End of Battle. But also, I really just like the vibe. So yeah, we're here. We got the Zoroark Kisway, which honestly really fits Nishi. It's pretty good. Yeah, Bishop, right after playing King Gabbett, very dishonest. A Florges, by the way, right after playing Grimmsnarl, very dishonest. Ursaluna, Bronzong, so it's got a bit of a Trick Room element, it's got a Hydrapple as well, but it's difficult for them to reliably set Trick Room because they've only really got Bronzong as a Trick Room setter. Kilowattrel, annoying Pokemon, but I do have a lot of Dragons, which means I'm not that worried about Electrics. I do have, of course, the homie, Electabuzz, which is a pretty good check to both of its stabs. Then they've got Taurus. Taurus has a lot of damage, but is also, like, it's a water type against a bunch of dragons. That said, its Intimidate could be relevant, and it was definitely something I factored into my team building. Florges is a real pain. They've got an Ice type, which can click Ice moves, like Freeze Dry, to completely delete Kingdra from not just this game, but also from playoffs, even if I make it. You know, very annoying Pokemon there. And then they've got Colossal as well, which I think, like, they've got the Aqua Jet into Colossal, but that's a really strong Aqua Jet, and I'm not that rock weak. I'm not like amazingly strong into rock, like that's enough to make me not want to bring Weavile in this matchup, but I'm not that rock weak. And they've got Toxicroak there as well, which is annoying for my rain team. How dare they not let me click Wave Crash into everything. Please ignore the Hydrapple. So, I have to bring Goodra, and I also have to bring Dragolgi, I think. Did I bring Dragolgi the previous game? I can check. Yeah, no, I do have to bring Dragolgi. So, they're the first two Pokemon on the team. I also had to bring Kingdra, because it's only come to one of the other games. Yeah, so I had to bring those three Pokemon, and then I'm like, okay, well, how do I best enable them? Well, I would like to not lose to Trick Room, so I'm bringing my two Pokemon with Taunt, Gardevoir and Haxorus, and Grafaier with Knockoff, so that I can knock off the thing and then taunt it. That is literally the entire thought process I have. I'm like, okay, well, I have to bring Goodra, Dragolgi, and Kingdra, so I'm bringing them. And then I would like to use my two Taunt Pokemon so that they can taunt their Pokemon and stop them setting up Trick Room. And worst comes to worst, I can Encore it. That was, yeah, genuinely the entire thought process. I think I actually built for this game first, even if it was the last game. Did not wind up playing it first, though, I can tell you that much. So, we come here, I'm looking at the team preview, I'm like, okay, they're pretty Trick Room oriented, they don't even have their Tailwind guy, they've got a Glalie. That's interesting. I'm not super shocked by it, because I'm pretty, you know, like, they brought the three Pokemon that have super effective stab against my entire, like, most of the Pokemon I've brought, and the Ursaluna and Bronzong. And then Bishop, which is obviously like a pretty good resist to a lot of the Pokemon on my team. Like, I don't even think I have a fighting. Oh, I got Hakamoa. Originally this team had Annihilate. I think Annihilate probably was good into the Mono Dark team, but you know, it's fine. I don't even remember what else I dropped. I dropped Annihilate. I know I dropped Sliggoo, Hisway, and Paldean Wooper. I cannot remember what else I dropped, but I did drop something else. Well, I dropped several of the Pokemon. Might have dropped a Jolteon? I think I dropped, like, good Pokemon. Oh no, I dropped Mudsdale, I know that much, because I didn't have a ground check. Oh, and Torracat. Wasn't super big on Torracat. I think I already have, like, Weavile. I don't really need another Fake Out bot. And I already have Salamence, so I don't need another Intimidate bot. So I wasn't huge on Torracat on this team. Pretty happy with that. Even if, Fairy Resists are nice on the Dragon team. So yeah. I don't even remember what I led. Playing this game today, I do not remember what I led. If I'm here in this situation, oh, that's right, I'm supposed to super quickly pause so I can check out Terra types and talk about that. I forgot about that last game. Or, no, it didn't really teach me much in Sakaba's team, because it's not surprising they wanted to resist Dragon on the Mono Dark team. So, they see that I'm Terra Fighting on Goodra and Terra Fighting on Dragolgi. Basically always means Terra Blast here. With Goodra, that probably means I'm Body Press, though it could theoretically mean a special set with Terra Blast. They see him Terra Water with Kingdra, which really doesn't tell them anything. I think Terra Dragon tells them that I'm always offensive, but I could theoretically be Scope in this matchup because they don't really punish water amazingly, but I'm definitely not guaranteed to be. Whereas like a more defensive item basically always means that they're Sniper, just because it doesn't have enough damage to really do Terra Blast. They see I'm Terra Steel on Gardevoir. That means that my set might be Imprison, like Imprison Trick Room, so that's something that they do have to keep in mind. It could mean I have like a random Terra Blast, or it really could just mean, I could even mean that I'm Air Balloon, with the idea being that I'm Air Balloon Terra Steel to be able to always take a hit from Ursaluna. They see Grafaier is Terra Flying, that means it's probably Covert Cloak because it's not Terra Ghost. They see Haxorus is Terra Ghost, that means it's probably not, it could also be Air Balloon with the Ghost to be immune, but that most likely means that it's not Covert Cloak. So I think Scale Shot, but yeah. So on their team, we see Terra Grass on Hydrapple. That really tells us the main thing they want out of the Hydrapple is damage. We see Terra Fairy on Florges. That also makes me lean towards like a more offensive set, but that's not necessarily the case. Terra Ice on Glalie means they probably forgot to change the Glalie damage, but you know, maybe they just wanted the damage, right? Terra Dragon on Ursaluna makes me think, oh, maybe the Ursaluna has Terra Blast. Because, you know, obviously I've got a lot of dragons, and if it's underslowing them and it's clicking Terra Blast into them, they're probably not going to be too happy after. Terra Steel on Bishop makes me think it's probably Heavy Slam, or, Bronzong, sorry. Makes me think it's probably Heavy Slam, and they're really trying to muscle through the fact that I really only have 2 Steel Resists, I think? Is that correct? 1, 2. Also Lactimos. But yeah, it's sort of calling Empoleon not coming, basically. Or saying you have Body Press and that will kill Empoleon anyways. But yeah, Iron Defense Body Press would not be surprising, or even just Body Press on a Trick Room set. And then Bishop is Terra Dark, and that probably means they're like, okay, I think the rest of my guys are going to be able to put you in range where you can take like 40 from a boosted sucker and lose. But also, I think you are running some move that hits the steel super effectively. So either I'm going to take less from a fighting move, or I'm going to take less from a ground move, I think is generally the plan, because I don't think I'm super fire move option heavy. It's really only Salamence. So we see the Bishop lead. And I don't know why I love these Pokemon. But very good news, the Terra Fairy Florges means I can always throw a Poison move into it. Terra Dark here means I can always throw a Dark move into Bishop, right? I'm not very, fighting or Fairy move into Bishop. There isn't a great degree of flexibility afforded to them, right? To some extent, clicking Terra is sort of like switching, in the sense of it changes the impact of an incoming move. And you have to predict it in the same way that you predict switching with Open Team. They know that I can switch into my flying type, or that I can switch into my steel type, and they have to react accordingly. Oh no, I went with this lead because I can click Knock and Taunt into Bronzong. That was the idea. But yeah, I wound up going here with a double up into Bishop. I'm thinking, okay, well, if they switch in anything, you know, the low kick isn't going to matter a lot, but the Moonblast damage is good. If the Bishop suckers, it's not going to kill either of my Pokemon. I don't really care what the Florges does, because like it Calm Minds would probably be the worst. But like it has to run Psychic to hit Grafaiai, which doesn't seem super likely, and even then it'll need a boost to be able to do it, because Grafaiai is fine. It's not like a broken Pokemon, but it's not taking like a million from a random Psychic from Florges. And like I think they'd have to be like a Spec Psychic probably would. But I'll learn that turn 1, game 1, right? But yeah, we see they are Eviolite. They don't die to low kick. They do then unfortunately die to follow up Moonblast. Bishop 70 base speed, it really does hold them back. So then they come out here. I'm like, okay, well, maybe now they're going to set Trick Room. But that said, I mostly just want to push damage into this Florges because I don't really care that much. And I am Encore on Grafaiai. So I go here. Oh, no, that's right. They protected the Florges. I Encore the Florges, hoping to lock it into Protect. And then the idea is that I can remove Trick Room from the Bronzong. If I taunt it now, it burns its Mental Herb, and then I can Encore it next turn, and then that reverses Trick Room. So I go for the taunt here. And then, so they, at this point, really have to switch the Bronzong, but I'm playing around them, hopefully not. Because it is an annoying situation, but also I really don't do that much to Ursaluna if it goes to the Terra. I'm not going to kill this Ursaluna with Gardevoir because, it's in Trick Room, so that means it's obviously often going to be quite defensively invested. But it's Terra Fairy, so it can't really, Terra Dragon, so it can't really deal with Moonblast amazingly well. And I am Sash on the Gardevoir, which means that they can't get a KO into it this turn. So the worst situation, theoretically, would be they switch into Florges. Or they randomly have like a weird priority move that I can't think of. I don't think there's one, but like theoretically, if there was a weird priority move, that into Gardevoir plus an attack would be bad. Most likely, I expect Grafaiai to die this turn, and hopefully either they switch out the Florges so I get a positional advantage, or the Bronzong dies. That's right, the Bronzong reverses Trick Room, but dies. So I go for the Encore, and I do manage to get that reverse on Trick Room, and I do get the Sash off with Gardevoir, which is great. I'm able to get the Moonblast damage out. We see, okay, it's quite tanky. It only took 37. Now I have to decide, okay, next turn am I going for low kick Moonblast? Maybe. And hoping that picks it up. Or I can try and force damage into Bronzong / theoretically a Florges coming in. I do decide to go for the damage here with a low kick and the Moonblast into... no, I split damage. I don't remember why I split damage. Why did I split damage? Oh yeah, because both of my Pokemon are faster than all 3 of their Pokemon. And if I taunt the Bronzong, it can't set Trick Room again. That's right, I was worried about them staying in, clicking Trick Room an extra time and getting Trick Room up, so that's why I taunted. Theoretically, they could have protected and set Trick Room again, and if I doubled into the Ursaluna, that would be really bad. But all they could do is get rid of one of my Pokemon, and either way, I'd be faster than Ursaluna next turn. So, they do heal a tiny bit, but they are taking a lot of chip from Burn, right? So this turn, they're down, now they die next turn to Burn. Yeah, I'm able to go here, I get the Poison Jab into Florges, which is some good chip. They do go for a Pollen Puff into Protect. Heal Pulse and Pollen Puff both fail into Protect. Life Dew is the one that works past Protect. Or theoretically, you can wish an ally switch, which I did have someone do to me once. I was mildly annoyed by, but yeah. Obviously, it would have been pretty good for them if that defense boost could have worked, but it doesn't. And then, yeah, I'm just like, okay, they're a major knockoff. Knockoff will be fine into Bronzong. But yeah, so I'm here. Knockoff is in the same position. You know, Goodra's faster than us Luna. I want to get it off. And yeah, the floor just was not going to be able to kill the Goodra. So just here, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to really kill this with a double up. So what I wind up going for here is I go for the Terra Fighting here, and the bonus body press damage. Body press is just not that strong, because Goodra also, similar to Electabuzz, sorry, doesn't have very high base defense. So I did need the Terra Fighting to be able to do the same damage as Locate. But the Terra Steel wound up working out fine, but obviously it also reduced damage from knockoffs, so it wasn't like it was a bad play or anything. And then I think I had Dragolgi in the back, and they revealed Psyshock, so I didn't really want to switch Dragolgi into Psyshock. I was trying to think about, like, is there a way I can preserve diff? But yeah. So we come over here, and, you know, it's an interesting situation. I could theoretically switch up my build significantly. I've got, like, the Kingdra version, but I think really the worst thing for me would be if they were able to set Trick Room up turn 1, so I decide to go for a lead that deals with that, which is the exact same lead I led last game. Now, they have the Glalie here, and that's scary, and they also have Hydrapple. The good news about Hydrapple, it's grass, and it's Terra Grass, so I can always double it, and it will always die. Glalie, I can probably also double, and it will always die, but I don't really know. Whereas I always get the super effective into it, and nothing really, like, you know, sorry, that's not true. Bronzong is fine switching into it, but, you know, nothing really loves switching into it. So yeah, here, we get rid of Hydrapple, that's a very good first turn for me. They hit Sheer Cold, but I Focus Sash, so I don't die. I'm like, okay, well, this Glalie set is weird. If I kill the rest of the Pokemon, Glalie's probably not going to win. Unfortunately, the Glalie also has Earthquake, and wins 2 speed ties in a row against Gardevoir. I believe it wins speed ties. I'm pretty sure I'm max speed. I'll have to double check, but I believe it is. The good news is, they're minus defense, and I am body press. So I get the Terra Fighting, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll see exactly how Fizz Def they are. The Sheer Cold hits, by the way. And I'm like, okay, well, I have the Draco the Bishop here. It goes for Terra Dark, so I wouldn't have had to, but I would have had to Draco the Bishop. It gets another defense drop, which means now it just dies to body press, which is obviously very good news for me. But yeah, these Sucker Punches succeeded, unlike the other one. And then I'm like, okay, wait, do I actually lose here? And I'm like, wait, no, I've got the Dragolgi, there's no way. There's no way it loses 1v1. And then I remember I'm Life Orb, which means I might actually have lost if I didn't get this poison, and if they are also Synthesis. So if they're Synthesis, they could theoretically have stalled me down into a range where Moonblast gets a KO. Without me, if I would have needed to get a Sludge Bomb, I would need to get a poison, I think, on the first 2 hits. But yeah, I do get that first poison, and you know, at this point we don't know whether they're Synthesis. So yeah, Life Dew, Asinal, Body Press, Knockoff. This 4th move is like pretty random. I haven't even clicked Life Dew once. No, that's not true. I did click Life Dew, but then I got full parried. Yeah, Scope Lens Kingdra did come, but it didn't wind up being a great position for it. The Trick Room version of the team is really not what this is for. It's really for the fast mode, where it can sort of use Focus Energy and Sub to play around Bishop, was the idea. The Sub can also punish them setting up Trick Room. And yeah, I used all these moves on Grafaiai. Grafaiai, it has like a really good toolkit consisting of, I run Knockoff, Encore, and Low Kick every game, it seems. At the Haxorus, it was 3 attacks, Taunt. It just really was annoying to position. I figured Haxorus is my only ground move Mon, and they have, Haxorus is my only ground move Mon, and they have, and I have like a few like Mons who can kind of collect fire type moves, so I wasn't sure whether it would be worth running Mold Breaker when Unnerve is good, and they could run Heat Proof on Bronzong. But yeah, Gardevoir, funny Pokemon. It's got the fairy moves. I don't fully remember when I went Terra Steel, but yeah, it's just 3 attacks here with Taunt, with the idea being I can always prevent Trick Room if I lead these 2 Pokemon. Except, is that true? They have a Fake Out Mon? They do. So theoretically, Bronzong plus that. But either way, the following turn, like they would have had to Fake Out the Gardevoir, and then the following turn I could always threaten an Encore, so at the very least they lose a turn of Trick Room having to switch it. And also, if they Fake Out, I can Encore the Fake Out. So it does put them in the back end. But yeah, so we did see the mental health Bronzong. I mean, look, HUD Trick Room comps have really been struggling this season, and Rock has felt this, I think, just as much as a few other players have. Trick Room is difficult to pull off in these formats without like these really super peak Pokemon. Like, there's no Iron Hands legal in Regulation H. Next season, it's not even going to be Esloda. But yeah, not having like these super premium enablers is a real challenge when there's a lot of disruption that's available, which really can stunt your ability to actually set up Trick Room in the first place or take advantage of it on that first turn. Like, being able to set up a Flame Orb on Esloda generally means switching in, right? Because you can't protect, because then this can get Encored, or this Trick Room can get Encored, and that is a challenge. I don't know why Assurance is here. I don't really get this move. I've seen people run it, and then it's like I get it if it's for like one specific calc, but I'm not in love with it as a move. But yeah, what we do ultimately see here, the Assault Vest Hydrapple is no match for the Specs Gardevoir. Specs, no, it wasn't even Specs. It was just regular Gardevoir. I guess it's no match for the regular Gardevoir. Hydrapple is a weird mon. I think I had it in my last videos on the channel, or they may not have been ones I recorded, but I did have it in a season, and it was a weird mon. I think I was very often frustrated with Fickle Beam not going all out on turns where I'm like, okay, well, Earth Power technically does slightly more damage, but if I hit Fickle Beam max, then it actually KOs, and then the Fickle Beam did not hit on those turns, but then Fickle Beam would hit when they were at like 12%, and it didn't matter. Yeah, the Rest Talk set is interesting, especially getting locked into Earthquake when you only really have Bronzong in the end. But yeah, I can say I didn't expect it. Was it max speed? Yeah, it was max speed. So yeah, it won both those speed ties against Gardevoir, and really the second one, when it clicked Earthquake, was the one that mattered. But also it only mattered because they hit Sheer Cold. Truly one of the games of all time. And yeah, they didn't wind up being Calm Mind, so Florges was not like crazy broken. Also, it's missing 4 EVs. Right? Am I remembering that? I think that's supposed to have an extra 4 here. I don't know. Yeah, pretty good fun team. And it was a good fun set of games as well. So let's take a look at the 3 teams that I brought so far. And I did manage to bring Electabuzz to 2 games, so it had already come to 1 game previously, but you know, just in case, I brought it to both. So it's definitely not legal next season. Goodra, I ran the same set both seasons. But frankly, I think in lower tier, this is a really difficult set to deal with, man. Goodra is not a Pokemon that's easy to get through when you don't have, like, premium attackers. And a lot of the Pokemon that are gone now, a lot of the premium is gone. I think it's definitely a difficult position for a range of teams. I think, like, the best Pokemon that are going to be legal are, like, Gallade, and that Gallade team is going to be able to beat Goodra. Everyone else is going to really struggle, I think. Yeah, there's like Gallade, Hariyama, let me check, Sableye, and Klefki, and Cleavor. I'm in love with you, Chief. Klefki is not an actual answer to Goodra. There's so few Pokemon that I think would be able to consistently output the amount of damage that you need to prevent Goodra from winning a game. So I think it's a good thing that I took it off the field. Haxorus has got a lot of damage as well. But like, you can always just run offensive Goodras in games as well, right? Specs Goodra and Banded Goodra are both perfectly fine. Kingdra, I mean, if there's any Prankster Rain, and I think that there are like random baby Pranksters, any Prankster Rain, or even like we saw in the other game, the Electabuzz Rain, or if you remember previous season, I ran like, I don't think that made it to YouTube either, but I ran like Weavile, Sunny Day next to Charizard, and you can do the same thing with Kingdra, and you know, the physical like Wave Crash set, but also the specs, Muddy Water or Life Orb Muddy Water, or even the Splash Plate Muddy Water is such a problem to deal with. Like, the reality is, I think if we allowed Kiryu, instead of retiring at the end of Yakuza 5, to enter a prequel and then a series of remakes and come through to the VBL low tier next season, I really feel like all 4 of the big dragons I got, the Haxorus, Kingdra, Dragolgi, and Goodra, would have been real problems for anyone dealing with the rest of the season. So I'm very happy not to see them. And it turns out, yes, Kiryu Kazuma can in fact win Pokemon VGC. Thank you guys all for watching. Goodbye.